Good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. And I hope you guys have had a good weekend. I hope you had a good day. So here it is Sunday already. Disappointedly, somebody in Missouri and Texas won the Powerball. I did not have either one of those tickets. Otherwise, you wouldn't see me here tonight. So we have to unfortunately go on living our lives and doing what we have to do. But somebody's very happy, so that's fun. So it's always nice to dream about what you would do if you got it. So, but yeah, unfortunately, somebody else got it. I had one number. That was it. So wasn't you, Delbert? Well, I was hoping if it was that you were going to hook me up a little bit. I'm sure everybody and their brother. I'll tell you, whoever did win, I honestly, in a way, I feel bad for him in a way. Obviously, it's the best thing that could happen to people. All of a sudden now you're filthy, stinking rich. But everybody and their brother is going to be coming out of the woodwork for those poor people that won. And, they're going to have to really learn to say, no, what are you doing? Can I help you with something? What? What? You're a good girl. Now it's not the time. All right, relax. She likes to get her 5 minutes on the camera. So anyway, uh, before we jump into anything, I just want to remind everybody that this is a very family-friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you cannot abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches are going to boot you out of here. The children will come in and play. Of course they will, but that happens. I want to address something. It was a comment today. I want to address this. Um, Ed, I may shed some your way after I settle in where I'm going. Oh, okay, man. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I got no problem with that, brother. And I can't wait for you to get there and do what you got to do. That'll be very, very cool. I want to hear all about it though, and I want to see pictures and all that good stuff too, Delbert. Just so you know. All right, so I wanted to shed some light on a comment that I made, and I actually, when I read the comment, I actually laughed, and they were like, Ed, you're the only YouTuber that complains about comments, about trollish people and stuff like that, and I'm like, what? You might have heard of a little channel called Wranglestar. I'm just going to use him. I'm not going to use any other channel, but I'm going to use him. Little channel called Wranglestar. This dude gets so much hate, and he talks about getting so much hate. I know several YouTubers. I've talked with Jason, and he talks about the hate. So, I am not like the only one that says, oh my God, these freaking people. Every single person on YouTube is dealing with some kind of hate some way. It's a fact, you know. Um, they're dealing with somebody either through jealousy or whatever the motivation is. And I honestly, personally, I don't get the motivation. If you don't like a channel, go watch somebody else. That's always been my thing. There's channels out there, and I will never say, yeah, the hate comments do help with views, but I will tell you what I do personally. I will delete the comments and I will block the person. That's what I do. I'm not going to have somebody come on and act like a tool on my channel. It's my channel. So it's not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. So it's my way or the highway. It's very simple, and like, but yeah, do they watch? They watch, or probably. I will tell you what, the people that hate you, depending, no matter who it is on YouTube, okay, the people that hate you are more loyal watching than your most loyal fan. Than your most loyal fan. So I got to tell you what happened to me recently, which was actually a pretty cool interaction. But anyway, so everybody has an issue with it. So it's not just like I'm the only one complaining. No, I'm not the only one complaining. There's plenty of people out there to complain. Um, So I was in a grocery store recently, and I won't say which one or what town, but I was at the grocery store and had a guy come up to me and he goes, "You're Prepper Nurse One," and I went, "Yes, I am." Uh, Delbert said, "Eddie, Ed, that's pretty much how Cody does it on his channel." Well, the thing is, I don't want to see the negative comments, okay? Or just the hateful stuff, okay? I don't want to see it. And I don't think that people that watch the channel want to see it either. You know what I mean? That's not what my channel's about negativity and hate and all that kind of stuff, because it's not, okay? So I'm not going to tolerate it. I'll tell you right now, when I first started, it really used to bother me. It really did. You're a human being. How could it not? But over time, you grow a thicker skin, okay? Because you have to realize there's idiots all over the place. The Democratic Party shows that every single day, right? So we see that with these idiots out there on the streets all the time. So it's not like it's something new to anybody. But anyway, I digress. So anyways, I ran into this guy. He says to me, he goes, "You're Prepper Nurse One, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "I knew you lived somewhere near here." We talked for a minute. And then he said something that it made me feel good. Okay. He said, "Can I get a picture with you?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And it makes me feel good. That does. I mean, it's not like oh, I'm so important, because trust me, folks, I'm not. I'm just me. Okay. If you run into me in the street, I'm the same guy that you're going to see here on YouTube. I'm just, so to me, it's very humbling. I'm very appreciative of all the people that follow the channel, that like the channel. And I've always tried to be very approachable to anybody. So, took a picture with him. And so he had a shopping cart. Okay. And I'll tell you what. So he's got this shopping cart and it's like full of beer, just absolutely full of beer. Cause I was just doing some regular grocery shopping. And I said, "Are you sure you got enough beer?" And he started laughing. But no, very cool guy. If you're watching tonight, I appreciate you coming up and saying hi. That was very, very cool. And then he actually sent me the picture that he had taken of him and I together. So that was kind of neat too. All right, now let's go into everything else. Right. So we're gonna go into the topic of this video. So before we, Hella, what are you doing? What's he got? Has he got a treat? Has he got a treat? Look at it. There's other bag behind you, Roy. Yeah. You can give her a couple of those. She would love that. So, yeah, he was prepping. Exactly, Frank. He was stocking up. That's an important thing to do. So anyway, so Roy's here in the camper. He's like, "I want to come up for the live stream." I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's cool." He just got into town the other day. So actually tomorrow, him and I are going to be running to Lowe's. We're going to be getting some stuff done with his cabin. And so that's going to be one of the things we'll be working on. And we're going to kind of go from there. So he's got, what was I going to say? We're going to be working on his rain catchment. The wood stove needs to just be finished hooking up in the inside. So we're going to be doing that. We need to start putting beer in our preps. Exactly, RC Kev. Thank you so much. Actually, I'll take that, which will pay for that. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes, beer in a prep. I'll tell you one thing. Realistically, though, liquor in your preps. I definitely stock up on liquor and wine, stuff like that. Stuff that's not going to go bad. And that isn't as a prep item all on its own. So, but you better yet learn to make beer. Exactly. Yeah, liquor is going to be very tradable, and not just. And I'm going to tell you what, guys. I've had some moonshine, phenomenal moonshine. But if you still got a bottle of something down the road after an SHTF event that is original, that's going to be worth something, and especially in the trade. So anyway, all right. So we're going to talk about the National Guard. So the National Guard, is it necessary that they're talking about deploying the National Guard into some of these crime-ridden cities? Now, I honestly, personally, Black velvet is so cheap, great for prepping and trade. Yeah, RC Kev, thank you. Thank you so much again for the donation. And you're 100% right. I buy a lot of cheap vodka for either barter or making tinctures. You could use it for a lot of different things. The good vodka is for me. So Absolute. If I'm drinking vodka, I'm drinking Absolute. So I do have Absolute put away because I do like that. That's if I'm going to have a liquor. I usually have a White Russian. That's what I like to have. So either that or a vodka wedge. So everybody knows what a White Russian is, right? Vodka, Kahlua, and then milk. That's a White Russian. But I also like, it's called a vodka wedge. It's vodka, grapefruit juice, and orange juice, and you mix them together. Grey Goose is good as well. No, I'm not. I'm not disparaging Grey Goose, but I like Absolute. Good vodka, you won't get a hangover. Okay, you won't get a hangover with good vodka. Rot gut cheap vodka, you're gonna get a hangover. So, will you stop? Why are you pushing on me? What? What do you want? You're not going outside. Stop. You are just outside, so you need to stop. But anyway, see, I'm off track again already. So let's get back. Grey Goose is also, yeah, it's very good as well. I just not big on the whole cranberry, unless it's that time of the month and I'm cramping. Of course, it's a joke. It's a joke. Okay, so for all of you out there that don't get the whole cranberry joke, just let it go. Anyway, all right. So the National Guard. Here's my opinion. Okay, I don't care if it's a Democrat-run city. I don't care if it's a Republican-run city. If there is high crime and they're not addressing it, they're not taking care of it. They're gonna give you words, words, words. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and then when nothing changes and the crime continues to be bad, uh, if you have to call out the National Guard to stomp that stuff down, then yes, you do. Do I like the idea of the armed military out there in the cities? Yes and no. Okay, because I'm going to tell you what, I almost guarantee you, even though people won't come out publicly and say it, a majority of the people would like to see the crime stopped. Okay, except for the criminals, of course, they don't want to see the crime stopped. But your law-abiding citizens that are doing the right thing and taking care of their business, yes, they don't mind actually having somebody coming in and stopping a lot of the nonsense, because when your local government, right, don't matter what side of the aisle it is, but if your local government is doing nothing to stop it, I'm telling you, guys, I'm from New York originally. Anybody that's watched this channel knows I am originally from New York, upstate New York, not New York City. But Rochester, crime is bad in Rochester. Buffalo, crime is bad in Buffalo. Okay. New York City, obviously, crime is outrageous there as well. The governments up there implemented the whole catch and release thing, just like California did. Okay. Where they catch these people committing a crime, they process them through, giving them an appearance ticket, and out the door they go. Ed, do you think if the troops go into each state, do you think that we'll have martial law? I'm a trucker that lives in Georgia, delivers to California, then back. Martial law, thank you very much for that question. That's a great question, actually. Martial law would be very, very difficult to enact countrywide. Now, you could enact martial law for a period of time in a city. Absolutely. Okay. It's you absolutely could do that short term, but long term, it's just not going to work. You can cut off the highways, restrict travel. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could do, that way. But with the troops moving into the cities, it's to repress the crime. When you have like California in Los Angeles with Karen Bass, and you talk about somebody that's out to lunch, you have to realize there's a problem. And Joe Average Citizen realized there was a problem. Washington, D.C., a huge amount of crime in Washington, D.C. So they bring the National Guard in, And lo and behold, crime is down tremendously. Imagine that, you know. So the problem is you have to arrest these people, prosecute these people, and put them in jail. All right. And I'm not talking about petty little nonsense stuff. Okay. I'm talking about your serial shoplifters. They go out there and that's all they do is steal. All they do is steal. There was a guy, white guy, just so you know, so I'm not like, saying it's those people or it's those people. But this particular gentleman was a white guy, okay? And he was going to Harbor Freight, okay? Well, Harbor Freight has a policy. I will tell you right now, guys, if you want to go into Harbor Freight and steal whatever you want, they're not to confront you. They're not to do any of that type of stuff. They're not to follow you out of the store. So they got the cameras everywhere, and people think, well, but they got the cameras and stuff. This guy was so brazen. He would walk in, he would take a box, large ticket item, and just walk right back out the store. And he did it so much that they built a case against him, got him for a felony theft because he had done it so often. And he didn't, no disguise, no nothing. All right. I mean, I don't get the concept, honestly, personally, I don't get the concept of if I know that every time Joe Blow walks into my store that he's going to steal, he ain't going to pay for nothing and he's going to steal it, I'm banning him from the store. I don't have to have a reason. You can have the sign that says, reserve the right to refuse service. So if I say to Joe Blow, listen, you're barred from the store. We want you trespassed. You're not allowed to come back here anymore. And if you do, you can be arrested. That ends that problem. How simple is that? Right? And I get where corporate is coming from because I actually talked to a guy in theft prevention with Harbor Freight. Okay. Talked to a guy in theft prevention. And I said to him, I go, I don't get why. He says, the reason that they do it the way that they do is because there was, like he was saying, the year previous, a couple of people had been killed, like at Home Depot, at Lowe's, going after a thief. One person was shot, another person was stabbed. Okay. They don't think that it's worth anybody risking their lives for that reason. So, it's just the whole concept of it. But again, to me, okay, so you don't want to do that, then just ban these people. That's all you have to do. And it stops it. It stops it right there. You're not allowed to come in here. You're being trespassed from the store. If you come back, you'll be arrested and charged. It's simple as that. They do it all the time, right? In certain places, Walmart will do that. They'll trespass people, So it's just some of these policies and the things that they do, it's very frustrating for the workers because I talk to people and they were like, it's madness because that these guys are coming in there. They come in there all the time and all they do is steal. So it's crazy. But again, you got to prosecute these people. Yes, I know the Cowboys lost. Wow. What a shock, right? The Eagles are a good team. They were playing in Philadelphia. It wasn't like I was thinking that the Cowboys were going to blow them out of the water. They held their own, but no, they didn't win. So it happens. I mean, I was more happy today that the Yankees won and we beat Toronto 2 out of 3. And now the Yankees are only 2 games out of first place. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. Football's really not in my vernacular at the moment. I'm focused on baseball. So I like baseball better than football anyway, but that's just me. Now, I like to play football, don't get me wrong. Ed, what's your take on France tell the hospitals prepare for 10 to 50,000 casualties next year? I had not heard that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I hadn't seen anything about that. What do they know? What are they gearing up for? That would be well, you just, like I said, who knows what they know, the intel that they have. Listen, folks, there's so many myriad of things that could happen. Okay. You could have sleeper cells which are all over the place. They're not just in the United States. Okay, they're in Europe, they're in Great Britain, they're in France, Germany. You name a country over. Probably not in Poland, because Poland did not allow all these immigrants to come into their country. So good for Poland, right? But you run out of Cheez-Its and crackers. No, I still got crackers. The Cheez-Its, folks, the Cheez-Its are expensive. They are not cheap. So I have not been having Cheez-Its for a while. And they're not really healthy on top of that. So I'm trying. I've noticed how I say I'm trying to eat more healthy. So yeah, doing that. But anyway, a lot of things. Yep, I heard that about France telling hospitals to get ready. That could be a true pandemic of something being released by who knows who. Okay, there's no doubt that things are going to happen down the road. Some sickness that was released has been modified in a lab somewhere, could be very deadly. It could actually be something that's going to kill 10 to 20% of the population and make a lot of people sick. So again, you really have to, be careful, be ready as best that you can for those type of situations. It's a lot of things that can happen, guys. So, but like I said, again, one of the tactics is used by the government is what? Fear. Fear is a tactic used to keep you under control. If you're scared and you need the government to help you, you're going to do what you feel like you need to do. So we got 201 people in the chat, guys. We got 76 thumbs up. If you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. And I do appreciate that very much. And I thank you. It really does make a huge, huge difference with the algorithms. So the more interaction, the better for the channel. So I thank you for that reason as well. Also, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. And again, I thank you ahead of time for that as well. All right. So, but getting back to the National Guard coming in, if that's what it takes, and I'm not talking bring the National Guard in there and leave them there forever. You get them in there, you clean the streets up, you take care of the garbage, and, and stop having the revolving door and put these people where they belong. So I'm a bit more afraid of this winter's forecast for my area. As far as that, every year they always do a forecast what they think because of El Nino or whatever, however that goes. But you don't know. I mean, it's hard to say what the weather's going to be like. I mean, we just had last year, they said it was the worst winter we had down here in 10 years. The two previous winters that I was here were not bad. And I don't really think, and honestly, it's just strictly my opinion, last winter wasn't really that bad. It was bad enough, and we had some cold streaks, and we had some, weather come in, and I had to park up in the upper meadow, as far as that goes. But I would do that again. I don't have an issue with doing that if that's what I have to do. But, it's just, the weather's going to be what the weather's going to be. What I would be more concerned about, folks, okay, because of the pole shift, which they do now acknowledge that it's real. Because remember when it wasn't real before, but now they're saying, yes, there is a pole shift happening. I would be more concerned about all these earthquakes and all the volcanoes, erupting and putting a bunch of stuff into the upper atmosphere and all that. That's what I would be more concerned about, to be honest with you, because again, that can put us into a volcanic winter, which means if so much stuff goes into that upper atmosphere, it's going to block out the sun and it's going to cause a lot of issues as far as that goes. So, the best thing that you can do, honestly, like I said, I've talked to my daughter and stuff up in New York. Thank you for all you do. Started watching in 2019. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Treasury? Is that how you say the name? I think I'm probably saying that wrong. But thank you very much for the donation, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Like one of the things, like for Heather, what I've said to her, get that woodshed filled up. You know, if let's put it like this: if I'm still in New York, that woodshed's been filled up for a long time. Uh, I would always start in the spring, getting wood, having it brought in, get it stacked up. Because the longer it was stacked up in my woodshed, the better off it was going to be. You burn the old wood from the year before that you didn't burn first, and then you start with the new stuff. But for me, I would have that woodshed. Well, you guys saw always had it full. Propane, absolutely. We had the propane up in New York. If a 300-gallon tank, okay, we would use maybe 30 gallons a year. So they only came once a year to fill that tank up. Once a year, that's it, because we didn't use a lot of propane. They actually, now that is in Heather's name now. The propane has been switched over into her name. Hey, Roy. Ed in Cleveland, Ohio, you can call 911. They always say we are shorthanded and we'll get to you as soon as we can. We need the National Guard's help. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a great point, because you would know if you're there. So that's crazy that it's that bad. Crime has gotten out of control. So thank you very much, Roy, for the donation. I do appreciate that. And thank you so much for the statement and that information. That's good to know. Yeah. If it's that bad, then they need to get these people in jail. That's, and that's the bottom line. And here's the thing, guys. I don't care what color they are. Okay. If it's white people committing a crime, or black people committing a crime, or Indians, or Hispanic, hello, will you stop? God, she's just being, no, we're not doing this. You're going to be a good girl. But whoever's committing the crime, they should be in jail. And the biggest criminals that get away with the most is white collar crime. That's your business people, your politicians. Those people commit a lot of crime. That's documented. They know it. They've arrested so many people, and so many people have been put in jail. But I don't think all of them that are committing those type of crimes are being prosecuted. So again, you just you don't know. You just don't know. All we can do, again, is the very best that we can. Prepare the best way you can. Like I said, I keep telling Heather, get your gas cans full. Get your gas cans full. She's got a bunch of gas cans. She needs to get them all full. And when their gas cans are full and you got a full woodshed, and then you got enough food, you don't have to worry about what the weather's going to do, because the weather's going to do what the weather's going to do. I second that statement about Cleveland. RC Kev says, thank you very much again for the donation, Kev. And okay, well, I didn't know Cleveland was that bad. I knew there was crime in Cleveland, but I didn't realize that it was that bad that the 911 said that we're short-staffed, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. That's insane. And there's another reason, right, why the Second Amendment is so important, folks, because you got to be able to protect yourself. When my favorite saying has always been this one: when seconds matter, when the police are minutes away. So if you can take care of your business, take care of that situation, protect your family, that's the most important thing. Don't be a victim. Hella, you need to stop. You're not going outside. Will you stop? What is wrong with you? No. Be good. But yeah, it's just going to be right down cool down here tonight. Yeah, I think we're getting down into the 40s tonight, is from what I heard. It's definitely cool outside right now. Yeah, imagine calling 911 when your call is important to us. Yeah, no kidding. Please hold. Yeah, it's insane. It's just, and it's all this defund the police garbage. It's all these politicians catering to a small niche group of people that are screaming the loudest. It's ridiculous, folks. It's ridiculous. And it just needs to stop. We need to go back. The thing is, I hate when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, we respected the police. We didn't always like the police, but we respected the police because, and I still respect the police because they have a very hard job, and I would not want their job. I will tell you that right now. I would not want that job. So I do have a lot of respect for the police. Because of a few bad apples they all get a bad name. Now, do I believe a lot of them are revenue collectors? Absolutely, yes, I do. Okay, so please don't think that I'm like, oh, rah, rah, rah for the police. No, after a situation that happened to me in New York that a lot of you know about, um, I was done with the police after that one. So they were looking. Yeah, the police kicked your butt when I was young, Ed. Yeah, no kidding, Jason. They absolutely did. They absolutely did. And I never got my butt beat by the police because I didn't act like an idiot around the police. So, but yeah, you just, you got to be smart. You pick your battles. Ever hear that one? Pick your battles. Yeah, when they come around, it's yes, sir, no, sir. Okay, whatever I can do for you, sir. But like I said, and it's a tough, thankless job. It really is. Dealing what they have to deal with on a daily basis, it makes them become very, very jaded. In Detroit, I was told a lot of cops were telling people to arm themselves. It can take hours, 8 hours to pick up a dead body in the lawn. Wow, that's insane. That is insane. Yeah, that's well, like I said, there's not enough people. They don't have enough staff to deal with everything that they have to do with it. And what does the police use to intimidate you? Fear. Of course, JJ. Of course they do. The threat of going to jail if you don't comply and do what you're told. But like I said, there's a time and a place. Okay. You make it as easy as possible. And I was taught back in 1982 that you don't worry about the Bill of Rights and take things up as you go. Well, there you go. No, I hear you. Like I said, I'm all about respect. If you're respectful to me, I'm going to be respectful to you, no matter who you are. I always tell people, what do you? Oh, please, for the love of God, cats, folks, I'm telling you right now, it does not stop. Clyde, gotcha. This young man here, he's a pain, but he's cool. He's getting big, aren't you? You getting big, Clyde? Yeah. They're into absolutely everything. I name them appropriately. I can tell you that right now. So, uh, I had a break in this week. It took them 4 hours to show up. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like I said, it took over 6 hours to pick up a dead body in an Ontario truck stop. That's just crazy as well. A police once told me they would bounce my head off the street like a basketball if I kept talking. Well, then I bet you shut up, didn't you, Jason? I bet you shut up then. A lot of the problem is too, is the entitlement mindset of our of people. Wait, what? No, no, no. Get down. I love you, but you're not being good. You're being naughty. Ah, it's the entitlement mindset of people today. It really, really is. So you know what? If it takes a National Guard to come in, clean up the garbage, because here's the thing, guys: scumbags aren't going to stop and go, "Oh wow, now there's people that are really going to arrest us and hold us accountable." They're not. They're going to continue to do what they always do, and so that. But like I said, look at the decrease in crime, and explain to me how these Democratic governors, how these Democratic mayors can say, no, we don't want the help. Why? Because it's coming from Trump? It's stupid. It's stupid. Ed, the way you talk to your audience and interact with us makes me feel like I'm in the same room with you. Great job, sir. Well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. You know what? I'm just a guy on here telling you, my observations, my thoughts. Does that make me 100% right? No. Okay. I'm giving you my opinion. And I will tell you, the one thing I will tell you, and anybody that's watched this channel for any length of time knows, if I make a mistake about something, I'll be the first one to come on here and go, I was wrong about X, Y, or Z, because I believe you have to own your mistakes. I'll tell you what, folks, I've made plenty in my life, plenty of mistakes in my life, and if I can help or guide somebody not to make the same mistakes, that's what I want to do. That's absolutely I want to do. But I was going to tell you. So today, 3 more posts are in of the 6 that had to go in. I had 2 in already. 3 more because I've been soaking the holes and digging out. I dug out some yesterday and then refilled them with water. Roy was helping me with that today because it's like that's a chore. It is not an easy thing. So 3 more posts are in. The last post hole is down to about 15 inches, so we got like 3 more inches to go. And we got that soaking right now, so that last post should go in tomorrow, and then I can move on to the next phase of what I want to do. And very shortly after that, because this has been the hard part, I'll be honest with you, digging these post holes in that it can't even call it dirt because it's not dirt. It's hard compact clay, so which is like cement. But an auger won't work. No, JJ. We if you guys remember, when we were doing the pavilion, and we rented an auger because we figured, hey, we're going to rent an auger. We're going to drill out the hole and it'll be fantastic. All it did was spin and didn't go anywhere. So unless you have one of those augers like on a tractor that you can apply force down on it, that might work. I don't know. The trees are starting to turn here, Ace. Yes. Yep. So, and what would you say was your biggest mistake as a prepper? I would say personally, my biggest mistake that I made as a prepper was not going to a 48-volt system for my solar system from the get-go, because I put a lot of good money after bad. But I didn't have any knowledge. Okay, so I mean, I can't blame ignorance. I just was like, well, I'm going to put in this 12-volt solar system, which is what we started out in New York, right? And I said, this will be fine. Well, we found out real quickly that wasn't fine. And we had marine deep cycle batteries for that. So those batteries were running like $100 a pop, I think, for those. And then I realized that's not going to work. So we went to a 24-volt system, which is what's still running in New York. And then I went to Trojan batteries after that. And those were like $250 a pop or something like that. They were not cheap. And I had 8 of those. So those were lead acid batteries. Okay. And then after that, then I went to the lithium ion batteries in New York, and that's what's still being used up there now. And, they're still on a 24-volt system up there, but that's more than enough for Heather's needs for her. Okay. In her place. And, Becky is hooked up as a backup. So Becky went actually on grid, but all she's got to do is hit a transfer switch, and she would go from being on the grid to going off grid and onto the batteries. So, then, like I said, so when I came down here, I knew exactly. Ed, you have a 420-pound propane tank in New York. It's 300-pound tank in New York, JJ. 300-pound tank in New York. So that's like the biggest one that they have is a 300-pound tank. But anyway, yeah, hopefully Heather doesn't have to upgrade the system for a long time. Yeah, that would be nice for her. But anyway, when I came down here, that's when I went to a 48-volt system. It's much more efficient. It's definitely better. The batteries are expensive. Obviously, that's part of the whole deal of it, though. You got to invest the money, and your biggest investment is going to be in your batteries. So, but yeah, that's probably my biggest regret was not doing more research before I went off grid, because I will tell you, a lot of people, and I've talked about this before, a lot of people will say, yes, I'm going to go live off grid. And more than half of them within 1 year are back to living on grid, okay? Because it's not easy. It's not easy. So, that's part of the problem, which people don't understand. It's a dedication. It's something you're going to want. You got to love it. You have to be able to, and this is the biggest one, all right, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. That's your biggest one with going off grid. So maybe for a while you got to wash out of a 5 gallon bucket. Maybe you got to do your laundry in a 5 gallon bucket. Maybe you don't have running water for a while. We didn't have running water in New York for a year and a half. I will never forget. I will never ever forget when we finally got the running water in New York, and we got the hot water on demand system and that was like $600. It was a good one that's still there, still working, up in New York. Okay, to be able to take a shower. The first time I was able to actually take a hot shower at my place in New York, it was amazing. I can't even begin to tell you just how wonderful it was. And it was like, I'm going first, and then after I got done, then Heather went in and she took her shower, and then Eddie went in and he took his shower. And all three of us were like, oh my God, this is the greatest. Because you don't realize or how much you take things for granted until you don't have it. Okay. That's the biggest thing. You don't realize, holy crap, I've taken these things. It's just like when you walk into your house, folks. Okay. You walk into your house and you turn to your right or your left and you hit that light switch and the lights come on because they've always come on. Okay. So you take it for granted. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. But that's not always the case, right? I mean, anybody that's lived through a blackout, anybody that's lived through, an ice storm and the power's been out for a week or 10 days, or a tornado or a hurricane, whatever it was that caused the power to go out, then you really realize, wow, that kind of sucks. And I want to be ready and more prepared. And so that's why people will go out and buy that backup generator. That's why people will go out and get a smaller solar system, to have something as a backup. Those are important aspects that people just don't think about. Having enough gas on hand to keep things running when you need to have it running. That's big as well. So all those things are really, really important. And you just gotta, you just take it day by day. That's the biggest thing. And again, appreciate what you got, because there's no guarantee of anything. And that's something I don't think a lot of people realize. You know, Firewood, yeah, having enough firewood so that you're going to get through the winter, so you don't have to worry about, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to heat the house? Make sure you got more than enough. And that's what I always try to do in New York was have, it's a never ending process living off grid. It is. And it's a cycle. In the spring, you have things that you got to do, and all that type of stuff. We're, like I said, right now, and I've talked about this a bazillion times to you guys, we're focusing on the pavilion. Okay. Would I like to be working on the bunker? Absolutely. I would love to be working on the bunker, but that's not the priority at the moment. We got to get that pavilion buttoned up before the snow flies, so that when it's wintertime and we're all getting together and, we can go in there and be warm and be comfortable, and it's going to be okay. So, we're making those steps now to make sure we're in that position. And then once that's done, then we're going to get the shower room done. And once the shower room is done, then, we got warmth, we can clean up all those. And those are important steps. Getting everybody's rain catchment set up. That's an important step. Getting everybody's wood stove in. That's an important step. So it's a process, and it takes time. And that's, like I said, the biggest thing I don't think a lot of people realize. Last winter, okay, I'll give you a good example. Last winter, we had 2 functioning wood stoves on the property in the pavilion, and Mark had his, okay? So we only had the 2 functioning wood stoves. That was it. So getting ready to come into this winter, Johnson's got his wood stove in and working. He's used it now. Roy's got his chimney is up. He's got his wood stove inside. And actually, that's one of the things we're going to be working on here in the next couple of days, is getting that set up. So that'll be another functioning wood stove, and then you have Rob is getting his going. Jamie and Dawn, We got, their stack is up on the outside. All it's a matter for them is to hook it up on the inside. So, we're going to have a lot more wood stoves working and functioning this year before the winter comes. And that, like I said, that was one of the things that I talked about in January. Get rain catchments set up, get wood stoves in, because that way things go sideways. That's two things you don't have to worry about. You can stay warm by having that wood stove, and you can cook and everything else also, okay, inside. And then also having water available to you. It's really, really important. Had to build a fire last night here. And going to tonight too. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Delbert. We're like I said, I think we're going to be down into the 40s tonight, so it's definitely going to be a cooler night. So the seasons has definitely changed. So it's part of the process, though. That's what we got to deal with. All right, we got 225 in the chat. We got 116 thumbs up. So I'm going to ask again, if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. Thank you ahead of time for that. It really, really makes a big, big difference. Edward, an 8x12 building would be safe for a wood stove. Yeah, Marianne, a small one. You don't have to have anything great big in the smaller wood shed or a smaller building. You could definitely still have a wood stove in there, but I would go with a smaller one, like the kind they sell the smaller, like the one that Mark has in his building. That would be the kind that I would get, and you can get those at Harbor Freight. So, or I'm sorry, yeah, Harbor Freight. So, no, Tractor Supply. I don't know what I'm thinking. Tractor Supply. So anyway, if you haven't shot a thumbs up yet, please do so, and I do appreciate it. Also, again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well, and I thank you ahead of time for that. And I will tell you this before we do egg count. Nothing beats wood heat. I will tell you that right now. It is the absolute best. It definitely is awesome. Okay. So total number of eggs, yes or no for Miss Betty White, and how many Easter eggers? We have 3 Easter eggers. So how many eggs did we get today from the Easter eggers? So we'll go from there. Give you guys a minute to get your guesses up, and we will go from there. But I'll tell you what, I take my hats off for anybody that's making the move to go off grid. It's not an easy move, especially when you're used to all the creature comforts. It is probably, believe it or not, it's a bigger adjustment for the adults than it is for the kids. So if that's not crazy? Kids are very, very resilient. They adjust very, very well. And so, that makes a big difference there too. But it's not an easy task, and it's fun. I like it personally, but that's what I wanted. So, all right. If you had the same exact guess, is life off grid? Life off grid. Total of 8 eggs today. Yes for Miss Betty White. In 2 Easter eggers. Kathy, you were close, but you said 3 Easter eggers. I saw you come up there with the first 2 right, but you had the Easter eggers wrong. So yes, it's it is a good day. So congratulations to Life Off Grid. You've won absolutely nothing, but you are happy about it. So there you go. But I'll tell you what. As far as, like I said, with living off grid, when you make those steps that make your life easier, that make your life better, it is such a gratifying thing. And especially if you can do it and not owe anybody anything for it, that makes it even better. So, you do it with no debt. So like when I was in New York with the kids, everything that I did up there, we did not go into debt for, other than the building. The initial building that we bought, and I'll never forget this. And I wanted to reiterate and share this story with you. So when I bought the 14 by 40 building, at the time it was $495 a month for 3 years. Okay, And so I had to put so much down, and then that's the way that I did that. And I will never ever forget. I had people saying at the time, "Oh my God, you're going back into debt again." Now I was paying it for the land as well, okay, because I did a private mortgage for the land that I bought in New York. Same thing down here. I did a private mortgage for the land that I bought down here. But what I said to the person when they said that, I said, "I bought this building. It'll be paid off in 3 years, not like a 30-year mortgage. There was not going to be a 30-year mortgage." So that building was paid off within inside of 3 years. Obviously, I think I paid it off a few months early. I think I paid it off like 4 or 5 months early. I got a closeout number, figured out what that was, and I sent that money, and I saved even more interest wise by doing so. Okay, we put probably 20,000 into the building. Insulation, wiring. I had The building was 14 by 40 up in New York. Still is 14 by 40 because it's still there. But it, you know, I had hella stop enough. No. I had an electrician come in and do the electrical work. And the reason I did that, I had two 13-year-old, what are they, 13? Yeah, they were 13 at the time when we moved off grid. I had two 13-year-olds that I wanted to make sure were safe because I still had to go to work and I was working nights. So I wasn't going to try to do the wiring myself. I was going to have somebody that knew what they were doing come in and do the work. And that's how we did that. When I had the water and all the lines run, I had the water guy, the plumber come in and do that work because I'm going to pay for to be done right, to be squared away. Bill did a lot of work for us up there. Awesome guy. How many loads of stone did I put into those driveways? Creek gravel went in first to build it up, and then we just load after load after load of gravel, to get it to where it's at today. So again, all that took time. We had issues that we had to deal with. We had low areas where now Becky's Places is at, if you guys remember, okay? And they were doing the trees. I said to the guys, bring me the loads of the wood shavings and dump them there because it was fill, okay? And that's going to turn into great soil over time. So they brought in all these loads and we just raked it all out. And then, and eventually, Becky's Place went in there as well. And I kept telling her for years, I'll tell you this, guys, come get a building, put it on my place, live here. You'll pay that, constantly filling the water tank. Yep. Had to fill the water tank. Yep. But, again, it was there and we were able to use it. We had 1,000-gallon water tank underground. So that worked out as well. But again, all of it's a process, guys. It doesn't happen instantaneously unless you got money. If you got more money than you know what to do with, great, good for you. But we had to do it step by step. It's something I want to remember, and I wanted to share with you again. After our first winter at the Homestead, and it was a rough first winter. It was a rough first winter. We hadn't got the building completely squared away yet. We got the wood stove in. It was November. We were sleeping in sleeping bags on the floor next to the wood stove at night because it was getting too cold to be in the camper with the camper that we had up there. Okay. So we were sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags in front of the wood stove. That's what we did until we got things squared away. But we got through that first winter. And that spring, I said to the kids then, I said, and this is important, including your kids, if you're going to be doing this, guys, especially if you've got smaller kids, you want their input. You're going to want their feedback. And I said to them, I said, what is one thing that I can do to make your guys' life better here now? What can I do to make your life better? And it was unanimous from both of them, more power. Because what we were doing up there, just to kind of give you an idea, we were running power during the day, And then we shut everything off at night. So there was no power at night, none, for a long time, until I went to the lithium ion batteries and we went to the 24-volt system. Um, and then we built the rack for the solar panels. We were not getting enough power coming in to run 24 hours a day. So, I mean, I learned so much from that experience. I will tell you that right now. A lot I learned from that. By the time I got to the last raised bed, I had it down. I mean, it was that last raised bed. It still looks perfect to this day up there. A couple of the other ones are kind of sketchy looking because they didn't go in quite the way we had hoped. But again, by the time I was to the seventh, eighth, and ninth one, I had it down. I knew exactly what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And, they went much better. But again, anything that you're doing when it comes to that, it's a learning process. I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. But the one thing I'm stubborn. I'm determined. It's going to work. We're going to get things better. And so, that second year, I went from a 12 volt to a 24 volt system, and we increased our time of what we could use our batteries. And I will tell you what, anybody that knew me, I watched all the batteries all the time, constantly, because, there could be an issue. Like today, I'll get a good example. We had a nice, sunshiny, beautiful day here at the homestead, right? And did I even look at the batteries today? Not at all, because I know they're good. You know what I mean? I know they're good. Now we're getting closer to the time of year where I'm going to have to pay more attention up here because of the fact that you just don't know. You know what I mean? It's like we get a couple cloudy days, the batteries could be down. I might need to run the generator for a while. So, Ed, in the end, that New York homestead turned out great. It did. Unfortunately, it was in the wrong location, meaning New York. But it really did. It was a lot of work, but we learned a lot. So, yeah, never learn unless you set in and do the task at hand. Exactly, Delbert. And, you make mistakes. And that's why I always want to share my mistakes with you guys, because if I can teach you what not to do, it's going to make it better for you in the long run. So, but painting the water tanks black, what does that do exactly? That's a great question, Roy, and I'm glad you asked it. The reason you paint the water tanks black, two reasons, okay? You paint them black because you're blocking out the sun from coming in. So you got a water tank full of water. If the sun's coming through that tank, you're going to end up with algae and growth and all that type of stuff in the tank. So if you have the tank painted black, the sunlight's not coming through that tank and your water stays fresh. That's the number one reason why you're painting your tanks black. Okay. You could paint them purple. It don't matter. Brown, whatever you want. I just always went with black. Okay. Now, the reason I like black as well is because it retains the heat. Now, that water's going to warm up, and so it's going to be warmer, and it'll stay warmer longer. So that's another option that you can utilize. If you're going to be going with a greenhouse partly underground, we're going to be doing that here. And I'm going to be showing you that when we do that. And it's going to be amazing when we do that. Because you're going to be able to walk in and go down, and, our heads are going to be like where the ground is up over here. You're going to put water tanks in there as well, and you're going to paint them black. Okay. And the reason is, again, it acts as a heat source. So that water will heat up during the day as the sun's coming through, whatever, that you're coming through there, heat those tanks up. And at night, it'll keep that underground warmer. So all of it is part of a plan of what you do. But that's why you paint the tanks black. Like I said, you can go with another color. You don't want to go with a light color, but you want to go with something you're blocking out that sunshine from getting into the tank to cause algae growth. Because when you go to use that water, you want that water to be fresh water if you're using rainwater or however you're doing it. So I hope that helps with that question. But yeah, it's just like I said, guys, it is a process and it's not easy. I went in moving off grid, I thought this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. And it has been. Okay, it has been. But be prepared for setbacks. Okay, be prepared for things not to go the way you thought that they were going to go. And when those setbacks happen, you got to roll with it. You got to go, okay, well, yep, that sucked. And now we got to go on to, whatever's next. So, but yeah, like I said, all of it's just a process, and you just do the best you can. It's, but going back again to the original topic of the live stream, I do think it's important that we bring in the National Guard to these cities where it's crime ridden to stop it. Hopefully they can get it under control, and then they don't have to be there forever. I don't think they should be there forever. But I think it's really important that we get things back under control, and they're not under control right now. So, all right, guys. Well, I am going to jump off of here for now. I'm going to leave you with my ever famous saying, well, yes, you can't give me another minute, ma'am. She's just looking at me like I'm out of my mind. STD, folks. Step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, you can do it. The only one that's going to stop you from achieving your goals is going to be you. If you set realistic goals, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. Just work at it methodically. All right. I dreaded digging these holes out here, putting in these new posts, because I knew what I was facing. But I figured, you know what? I'll just work at it a little at a time, and it'll get done. And once that's done, the rest of this build out there is going to go so much easier. So, and you'll see. So anyway, guys, be safe. I will talk to you all later. I hope you have a good start to your week. Will you stop? You're really pissing me off now. Knock it off. Down. She's going to go outside here in a minute. Anyway, guys, I will see you all later. Prepper Nurse 1 out for now.